Sunday, 27th of August, 2023. In this evening's show, we are discussing a heavy yet first defeat of the season at Sincil Bank and the fourth consecutive goalless match in a row in what is a very worrying set of results and lacklustre performances from the men in Tangerine. I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasands Podcast Match Reaction Show. Lincoln City 3, Blackpool a big fat 0.
Town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Seasands Podcast on a bank holiday weekend, the last of the summer. Joining us this evening are Matt, Tim and Raggy. Raggy, Tim, unmute your mics. I was just about to call you both a disgrace to the Seasiders
Won't be the first
podcast.
time. Won't be the first or the last time we'll hear that.
We've got a hat trick of disgraces on tonight, haven't we? All three of us.
We certainly have. I did contemplate doing, as we said in the green room beforehand, doing my pretending to be asleep routine again, but I decided that repeating something like, akin to 3-5-2 when it's not working it doesn't work, does it? It don't work. You got to do it once, and then if it don't work, you go again. So I think
that gag was funnier in the green room, Tim. Wasn't it?
It was. It didn't quite
really
come across.
then, did it?
It didn't come across the same way. A bit like 3-5-2.
Yeah. I was about to say, Tim, it's just not working. Change it.
Yeah.
You'd think someone would be in our head coach is here and saying,
Yeah, I'll learn. I
won't
won't try that gag again.
Me and Raggy both played Mike and Ian and said, it's a great idea, Tim. Do it. It'll be really funny.
Mike and Ian? Oh, Garrity and Brunskill.
Yes.
Get it?
Yes, boss.
So, here we are again on the back of... is lacklustre being kind, Tim, on that performance at Lincoln?
Well, at about 11 o'clock yesterday morning, I was thinking, I really fancy going. And as I was speaking about, I'd arranged to go to this gig at the cricket club. And so I knew I couldn't go. But then I looked at the forecast and thought, if my missus doesn't want to go, I might just jump in the car and probably a bit earlier than 11, to be fair, probably 9, 10 o'clock. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I think the writing was on the wall when I looked at the podcast patrons group at 2 o'clock and saw the team, and I forget now which game it was that we played at basically the same side. Was it? It wasn't Port. I'm trying to make sure. There's a home game where we played that same side, and as soon as I saw the team, then I thought that ain't good, and that was the view I really had. So every credit to those who made the trip, because it's very difficult on bank holiday weekends, I think, because traffic and everything, and I think that road down via Doncaster was a bit of a mare from what I heard. So, but yeah, Lincoln's a great place to go, but not to get spanked, is it?
Not to watch Blackpool playing the way they are at the moment in the Neil Critchley. Mitch, my mate Ben from the football team, we were having a conversation because we're both involved in coaching. The grassroots season hasn't actually started yet, and we were both saying this is one of the very few sort of distance away games we can go to with the season not kicking off yet. But we both made the decision not to make that long journey down there because we knew what would happen. You obviously made the journey, didn't you? And I'm guessing you regret it.
No, I had a lovely brew. That's about it, really. It was a very good brew, to be fair. I had a really good. I've got into what's that coffee with chocolate mixed in it? What do they call it? Mocha. No, mocha. About 3 weeks ago, I had one of them. It's like, I'd never had one in my life, and a really good one in Lincoln. So it was well worth the 13-hour round trip or whatever it
was. that what it was?
I've never been to Lincoln, so I went really early in the morning. And actually, to be fair, I'm sure the listeners don't really want to hear about my day in Lincoln, but I actually had quite a good day until the football. Yeah. I did a Tim-style cultural tour.
I've read your blog before, and I was very impressed. I like Lincoln as a place to go. I've got to say, it's a great little city, and I didn't realise there's many heavy metal fans as you referenced. But
it was. Do you remember Saxondale?
No,
Partridge's Steve Coogan's character.
Yeah.
Right. I'm with you now.
It's like every 8th person was Saxondale. It was weird.
I know it's not very proletariat of you to be drinking mocha coffee, is it? You know what happens to that? A good old brew.
I know. It must be hanging around with you, Tim. I'll be in the Moretti next.
Proletariat. I've lost that sound effect. Anyway, okay. Proletariat. I forgot to say hello to everybody in the comments. Anyway, so welcome everybody. David Bryson has just asked, I wonder what's on the agenda tonight. Well, we're going to be discussing the game, obviously. Defensive lineup, lack of intensity, what needs to happen before the window. Will Raggy implode when Mitch makes the case for Tomo? Wider recruitment policy. Norburn's worst game. 721 passes, 4 accurate crosses, season stats. Wing backs who want, CJ does something or other, and Norburn's worst game. So there you go, David. That's what's about to happen.
I did notice, John, actually, when you actually delegated responsibility for put the agenda together, that we got a far more comprehensive brief than we normally do.
I wonder why. Go along. You should know that by now.
So delegations and art.
I've actually been in the lakes today, Tim. I did a Nick the Lakes Smith and spent the day on Windermere. Walk up to High Tarn, most pleasant.
Well, normally involves him having a very expensive meal somewhere, though, as well. Did you and go to a brewery?
No, I went to the Strickland Arms and had a £17 pie mash and veg. So I think that is
splendid.
It's in that area, isn't it? Right. Anyway, let's get cracking. That was the lineup of what's going to happen tonight, everybody. As ever, we always kick off with the eye-rolling, tutting and swearing that ensues after this comes out, which is the starting 11, which was Grimshaw, Casey, Ekpateta, Husband, Hamilton, Dougal, Norburn, Morgan, Connolly, Beasley and Lavery. Let's come to Raggy first on his considered thoughts on that team selection and formation. No Dom Thompson for a kick-off. What is Critchley thinking?
He's obviously clueless, isn't he? But I think we know that. They have the team. The team is not. It doesn't inspire you when it comes up. But I did think when I looked at it, well, what better team have we got? I don't know what else we do to the team. My point, as I've made a few times, is we've got no pace. I mean, you can Hamilton aside, who is what he is. We've no pace, and we've no one that'll run with the ball. We've no flair. So even when I look at the team, I think, well, it's probably the best team they can pick. Because who else do you put on there? Who changes it?
Mitch, what was
not inspiring.
What was the mood in Sinsel Bank and in and around the stadium when that came out? Was it just another collective sigh?
Yeah, it was quite similar to the WhatsApp group, really, that Tim described before. I walked in the stadium and I bumped into Jay, who listens, and we both were like, "Oh, this is fucking shit, isn't it? He's inverted the fullbacks again. There's no change maker on the bench, if that makes sense. There's no Apter again. They've been Apter had travelled with the squad and they put out on social media sort of players coming in, including Apter. So he's thinking, he might get on the bench, and then you can maybe see a little bit of what we're lacking there. But it was just like, okay, right, we're gonna, at best we're gonna sit in and go for 1-0 by the look of it. And obviously Rhodes being on the bench was a thing. But even then, I don't know. I mean, I don't like to be negative, so I'm not going to say it's a signing that won't work. But we haven't got any pace. We haven't really got any height either, or sort of particular presence in the team. We've got lots of sort of fairly mid-paced, medium-sized players. And I get that the Rhodes signing was kind of a bit of a change of plan and a bit of a plan B, but we seem to have bought sort of quite a slow, medium-sized striker to complement some of our medium-sized, not very quick players. So, even that, I wasn't like, when you get a new signing, I'm like, yeah, I'll get to see, he might change it. So it was just flat, because those are normally the away games where it is really good, because you kind of, the further away you get and the smaller the away following, the generally the better the atmosphere and the more kind of intense it gets. But it just was flat, and it was sort of, I don't know, it didn't have that edge to it. I don't know if that was Lincoln partly, or whether it was the team or what, but yeah, it was just flat from the off, really.
Okay, over to you, Tim. Let's just look at a few of the comments that have come in on the lineup, and then you can respond. Firstly, from Steve Hutchin, the lineup struck me as a coach, more focused on trying not to lose than trying to win. 3 defensive players in the midfield. Mark Andrew said, players out of position. Why can't Crotch is more an appropriate name, isn't it? Why can't Critch see it? And MB said there's loads more formations he can use with his players. He has Dale as a wide midfield, get CG on the right, and someone else said, Steve also said, start Dale and Apter and go to a back 4. I was a big proponent of going a back 4 for this game, but obviously he wasn't. So, yeah, your thoughts and reactions to that, Tim?
Football is essentially a simple game, John. It's have good possession, get the ball forward, and create chances. Sometimes you can overcomplicate it. And I genuinely believe this season that the coaching manual has been opened on the wrong page, and we seem to be, or not we. It's not we. Our manager seems to be intent on playing a system that A, doesn't suit our players, and secondly, doesn't seem to be achieving the basic objectives of playing football, which is that you score goals. So, but if you're going to play that system, notwithstanding the evidence that's staring in the face that says it's not working, then you've got to make the best of your component parts, and we're not doing it. We're not, the games that we've played have clearly showed that Marv cannot play in the middle of that back 3 if that's what we're going to do. And yet, probably one of the better signings we've made this season is kicking his heels on the bench, who I think, if we're going to play that system, which I don't want us to do anyway, but if we are going to play that system, we'll be the better person to be in there. And listen, I think my views on CJ are fairly well established by now. But play him on the left and play Lyons on the right, and you might actually, surprise, surprise, get the best out of both. So
Connolly is left wing back as well. Let's talk about that.
To be honest, that's fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry to use that vernacular, but it's absolutely ridiculous. It was ridiculous the first time, and it didn't work, and we do it again. Now, in what planet do you play Connolly left wing back? He's not a wing back. He's not left-footed. It doesn't invert anyway. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, it's beyond. When I saw that, that's when I thought, oh, we're just lost. And I thought that the first time I saw it. The first time I saw it, I actually thought he was going to do the right thing and play CJ on the left and play Connolly on the right, which would make a modicum of sense. But oh no, we're going to try and be too clever, and that comes back to my primary point. Football's a simple game. Most footballers are quite simple individuals, and they want to play the best position. They want to play on the right foot more often than not. But if they're going to play, listen, if you got Bowler, I 100% understand playing Bowler in an inverted position, because he will cut inside and he will create chances as a result. That's where he got most of his goals from. But CJ can't chop a bag of cement, and Connolly's never played left well, as far as I'm aware, he's never played on the left. If he has, it will just been as a stopgap. So it's just ridiculous. Honestly, I get quite frustrated because it's hard enough trying to impose a formation on a team who clearly aren't suited to it, but then to play players completely out of their comfort zone just makes no sense whatsoever.
Before the season, I was talking to someone on one of the, I can't remember if it was a WhatsApp or AVFTT or whatever, and I said, we were talking about, formation, wing backs, blah blah blah. I said, yeah, but I bet he plays Connolly at right wing, at wing back. Ha ha ha! Smiley face, laugh laugh laugh. Oh, Critchley's a defensive manager. Joke joke joke. But I don't think in my wildest dreams I could have predicted that it would be left wing back.
He's played him there before, though, hasn't he? He's played him at left wing back before.
Yeah, he's played him twice.
Early this season, and it was ridiculous.
But that said, and when we got onto the game, what was our first chance? It was CJ cutting in, pinging it across the box to Connolly, waiting there free, inverted on his right foot, who just put it wide. And then where would it have been? What a masterclass it would have been then, eh?
But he didn't. He missed.
No, he didn't.
He glazed it over. Obviously, just before we go on to the game, the pre-match signing of Jordan Rhodes. Raggy, what was the view from the Arndale when that news seeped through?
Probably the same as everyone else. I mean, just like, whatever.
5 years ago, it'd have been a good signing.
Yeah, and even over the years, whenever I've seen Jordan Rhodes, even when he was at his prime, I know he scored goals. I never thought, oh, he's a great player, a dangerous. He was a goal scorer, wasn't he? Might as well have signed Danny Rowe, for example.
Yeah.
Someone who can just stick the ball in there, not going to do anything else. And that's the point. That's why I think CJ's starting to get more and more stick now. I think we're all trying to find one player that'll do something. And we probably think he's the only one because he can run. There's no one else to look at to think, go on, get the ball, beat the man, get down there. Who's doing that? And he'll get more and more on his shoulders because he's our only hope. And he's not the answer, is he? We've lost all our flair players. So I think Jordan Rhodes. Sorry, mate. Go on. Right.
Yeah, go on. That's what you finished. Carry on, Ricky. You're all right, mate.
No, I was just saying. I just think the Jordan Rhodes thing is. I don't know. He might score a few goals. He might not. But I don't think we're going to score any goals. The team at the minute. So.
Well, we're not, are we?
No.
When you sign a player, you sign attributes, not just record. Like people sometimes go, oh, that player's shit, he's only scored 10 or that, whatever. But you sign attributes to fit into a system. And I just don't get what that signing brings to that system. He'll bring a bit of experience. He'll probably, he played fine in the game. He kind of knocked a few into the corners and he moved about a bit. But I can't see how it changes anything, exactly as Raggy says. Can't see how it changes anything because either you need someone who's 6'5" and who's going to knock everyone over, or someone who's lightning fast who's going to kind of with lavs pull them around. And I don't see how not having one of those two things. And I'm more excited about that 20-year-old from Sutton because he looks at least like he's got something different. But I mean, he's not going to play, is he? But I don't know.
I like that signing just for his name.
2 goals in 42.
It's a great name.
Kylian Prince Emmanuel Trésor Kouassi, which I think is that's how we got. I think we've signed him so we can get the most letters on the back of his shirt.
Commercial genius.
Well, he's obviously one for the future because he's definitely not one for the first team, is he?
Well, and for those of a certain vintage will remember Trésor as being an attacking. I'm not sure he was inverted, but he was definitely a wing back in the France team in 1982.
Also, Loire's middle name was Trésor as well, so maybe we've signed him for that. And J. Emmanuel, whatever he was called at the time. Thomas.
We'll just Google Trésor and sign anybody.
Who knows? Crazier things have happened at this football club than that.
They have. Including Mrs. Holloway acting as chief scout.
Yeah.
Do any worse than the current lot. Right, on with the game. Mitch, come to you first. Obviously, we were touching on that that bright start. It seems to be a common pattern, doesn't it? We have a good 5 minutes at the beginning of each game, and the rest of the 85 are pretty poor, to say the least. To be fair to CJ, he did well setting Connolly up, didn't he?
Yeah,
Connolly should have hit the target. He should have hit the target.
Well, yeah, he should have done. He looked like he was aiming for the far corner and just, well, he's not a finisher, is he? So away it goes. But we did have a bit of success in the opening 5 or 6 minutes. And CJ had a couple of times. I think he got one straight after they'd scored the penalty as well. But it didn't take him long to figure him out. It was obvious then. The fullback just kept letting him get the ball. He didn't bother trying to catch him. He just thought, let him have the first touch, then I'm on him.
Yeah,
and that was it. And he had him. Which is a shame, because you can't do that to CJ, can you? Either put the ball down the line and tell him to run, or don't play him. That's it.
The greatest moment of the game was the moment where somebody pushed it up the line to him. He kind of pushed it at his feet, made to do a trick, then didn't do any trick at all, and just like walked into their fullback. He just walked off, and it was CJ in a nutshell. Of you cannot ask him to do any more than chase the ball, because he hasn't got touch, he hasn't got trick, and he isn't actually very good at passing or crossing. So don't play him on the wrong foot in a position where he has to do all of those things.
I don't ping 50-yard balls to him whilst he's in that position.
Yeah.
Because there's that hopeless kid at Rounders at school who ends up just under that skied Rounders catch, and you know what's going to happen.
There was the other glorious moment where he tried to control the ball with his face, where somebody pinged a long ball and it came out the sky and it bounced down, and he literally put his head over and the ball just hit him in the face, and he looked surprised by it. And it was like, it's just painful watching him try to play. And he should not be playing that position. It's not fair, because actually he's getting so much stick. There were lads lined up before half time, lined up, giving him shit, giving Critchley shit, going, get him off the pitch. Wait, and it's not his fault. He runs in straight lines, you know. I said this.
It's our only hope.
Yeah,
it's our only hope. That's how bad it is.
I've said this at the game. CJ reminds me a lot of a kind of like late 90s English football lower league winger who didn't quite make it as an athletics, as a sprinter, but isn't sufficiently bad at football that football's not a viable option for him. If you take his pace away, there is no way. Like, and I'm not being cruel to him, but it's like if you take his pace away, there's no way he'd be a professional footballer. Just like some big strikers, if you take the height away, they wouldn't be a professional footballer or whatever. But he wouldn't be a professional. He's not a professional footballer without his pace. So use his pace or don't use him.
It's fair summarisation. I think that's the word, isn't it, Tim? Let's move on to the penalty then.
Or summary.
Trying to get too technical, isn't he? Too articulate.
He was.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really like he's the Critchley of the podcast vocabulary.
But less is more, John. Less is more.
Yeah, you're right, Maggie. Getting up my own arse here. Try to impress Tim. That's what it is. Failing. Can't out Timism, the great man. Do try every now and then. I've penned in the notes Spud ridiculous challenge for the penalty, obviously, but why were people slating Norburn? And I think Steve Eyre on the comms, who was a breath of fresh air in my opinion, telling it how it is. But a lot of people gave Norburn a bit of stick for the penalty. Obviously, it was a misplaced pass, but sorry, 95% of that blame for me is to Epiteta. I mean, what the fuck was he doing with that tackle?
Yeah, I did just watch it back before we come on here, and they were pissing about with it, Norburn and Casey. I think it was Casey.
Yeah.
And so they but when you look at that lad that got the ball that Marvin took out, he wasn't even going to cross it. He slid in on it thinking he's going to cross it, and he wasn't. He was turned away. He was turning left. He was turning away from the goal. If you look at it at the last second, but there's no excuse for it, is there? He's just gone in. Don't know what he's trying to do. If he's trying to block it, he doesn't have to take the player out, does he? He can just.
I mean, when you're taught, we've all been taught to play football as kids, and the coaches always say, "Stay on your feet, don't go to ground."
But Marv never does. So if I'm going to be his advocate, I would say Marv often does what he did there and ends up with the ball. And perhaps on this occasion, he's not quite timed it right. But
so it's Tim, it's schoolboy stuff. That
well,
tells it was schoolboy. There's no other way to describe it.
I'm trying to offer balance, and all I'm really saying is
you can't defend that in any way, shape, or form. Professional defender, you can't.
Yeah. In some respects, all I say is that 95 times out of 100, he comes away with the ball in that situation, doesn't he? And he's not done it in that. He's not done it there, and it was extremely badly timed. To be honest, and I'm going to extend the plea mitigation, which to say that I actually think his confidence is a bit shot from what he's been asked to do in the team, and I don't think it's doing him any favors playing this back three. I think he's where he's supremely when he's playing alongside somebody else, and he knows that when he goes to the ball, there's somebody covering, and he can pass the ball to somebody else who's then going to do what he's been asked to do at the moment. He's comfortable, and he's not comfortable at the moment, and maybe some of that's coming out in other aspects of his game as well. But most certainly, I cannot understand how Pennington's not getting in this team at the moment. It seems beyond bizarre because, and maybe it's Critchley sticking by Marv because he's hoping Marv's going to come through it, but Marv isn't going to come through. Critchley, if you're listening, Marv isn't going to come through playing the back three. He's never going to come through it because it's not what he does. He's never going to do it. And we need to reconcile that. And it's either, I'm sure we're going to discuss the where we think things should go later on in the pod. But in a three in the middle, he's never ever going to work, and that's going to impact on the rest of his game because he's a confidence player. We've seen that with him in the past, haven't we? That he's played the best football we'll ever see from him when he's had a very, very experienced centre-back alongside him, which frees him up where he knows that he's got somebody who he can rely on.
We've said this last pod, as well.
When he's the main man, he's nowhere near the same player because he's worried. He's thinking too much where he doesn't have to, when he had Keogh next to him.
That was the cat chucking a spoon off the windowsill.
Just tell the
Gary
viewers
causing havoc.
Tell the viewers and listeners what the cat is called, please.
What do you reckon the viewers and listeners think my cat is called?
Bearing in mind, mine was called Mike. Ginger cat called Mike after Mike Davis.
Well, Gary,
first person in the comments who gets his cat's name correct.
Well, just giving the answer away just then.
I don't think they care. Let's crack on.
Gary.
What's he doing?
Fuck's sake, Gary, what's he doing?
Yeah, come on, Gaz. This is Medine trying to get back in the team.
Another knee injury.
Come on.
No, but getting back to the topic, Marv is best when he's not got to think. When Marv doesn't have to think, and I'm not dissing his intelligence on a football basis, when he doesn't have to think, that's when he's the best. Because as soon as he has to think about passing the ball, as soon as he has to think about have I got a covering defender, that creates uncertainty. When it creates uncertainty, he becomes indecisive. And
Tim, David Bryson's just said Marv's lack of confidence has reduced him from being a very good player to one who looks like amateurish, playing where he can be effective.
Exactly. He's probably said it more eloquently than I did, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't want you rabbiting on for about 2 or 3 minutes saying what could be said in one sentence. So
seems to go for quite a few players, that though, doesn't it? As we're talking along.
Yeah.
Well, look, I was totally of the thing of I thought everyone was just being, picking up on him for a couple of mistakes, keeping him in the team, his class. You play your class players back into form, but I was wrong because he was shocking. And live, that pen was bizarre because obviously Lincoln's quite low the away end, so it's kind of where you get that kind of flattened view. So it's not like when you're up high above the looking down, so you kind of craning, can't really see what's going on. And I never had that moment, that sort of feeling of, oh shit, we're in real trouble here. It was just like, oh, their lad's got it on kind of wide, and then Marv just kind of flattened him, and it was like, what's he done that for? I was like,
Do you know
I
what
was
it reminded
talking
me
to
of?
the guy next to me. We hadn't
Oh.
even stopped talking for the chance, and then he just cleaned him out, and he was like, What's that?"
It reminded me of Jimmy Husband away at Southend.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was literally going to say that in a different way, in the way like Hubby had sort of thrown himself in for a tackle that didn't happen and ended up looking like he was trying to cut the guy in half. Marv just kind of like waiting for this tackle and ended up kind of just this guy just kind of crumpling over the top of him, looking as surprised as he did. It was weird.
Senseless tackle. Challenge.
Yeah.
Senseless challenge. But they've obviously knocked the pen in. Yeah, down the middle, so can't really say anything to Grimmy
Well, I
about that.
can.
Oh, Tim's going to coach the goalies now. He's sorted the team.
He was piping up in the patrons WhatsApp group.
I've got to say, so Grimmy's there, and he did it on both penalties. If you watch it back, he sticks his hand out one side whilst trying to do his rather tame Bruce Grobbelaar impression of what going on the line. But he's basically, you know, when you have those big hands, it's like go this way, go
Kenny
this
Everett
way.
style one.
Yeah, Kevin Everett style. So that's what
Those
he looked like. That's what he looked like. And then, so the obvious thing there is you want the player to go the opposite side, but you're telegraphing it, aren't you? Saying, look, I want you to go that side. So he's pointing to give the viewers he's there in the goal. He's massively sticking out his hand one side to basically say to the guy, go that side. But that's just telling the penalty taker, you're going to dive that way, which he did on both occasions, and the ball came straight down the middle. And I thought, Griffin, why are you doing that? Or you're basically telegraphing exactly what you're going to do, and then you do it on both occasions.
Isn't it reverse psychology? He's trying to double bluff.
But it's rather shit reverse psychology, isn't it? Because if you're sticking your hand out that much one side, so listen, anybody watching or listening to this, watch it back. You'll see exactly what I mean. It's not even subtle, but it's obvious that he's basically saying go the other way, and then he dives that way. And stop, Grimmy, stop it.
He needs to have a word with that academy striker who saved the pen against the Nobbers on the morning. Did you see that?
No, I didn't know. I haven't seen.
No, have you not seen this? We were under 18s. We're playing P&E under 18s. It was, what was the score? 4-4 or 5-4 on like 91 plus 3 or something. Our keeper gets sent off. So our academy striker goes in goal, a lad called Lennon Scholes, saves the pen, the striker in goals, and we go up the other end and score, win 6-4. And I should have gone to that game, really, shouldn't I, instead of Lincoln?
Yes, Phil, that's correct.
But then it's not what we're looking for, is it?
Yeah.
Tim's stories mean we need 12 minutes of injury time on the pod.
It's not like I've ever been accused of being verbose in the past, is it?
I think this is the worst lineup as well possible for verbosity, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah, verbosity. Very good. Lavery off injured with a hamstring tweak.
There's a surprise.
Well, it was weird as well, like, because there was one where he burst through on it, and then he just stopped and squared it to Beasley, who just looked baffled by the whole thing. And then we're like, what's that about? And then about a minute later, I saw Rhodes get up, and I actually thought the game.
He's changing.
Well, I thought he was pulling Beasley off because Beasley had been really poor and he'd missed quite a few, and there were headers he wasn't going for. And we were like, Critch must be steaming. He's gonna take Beasley off. He's gonna put Rhodes on. And then the lady behind me says, "Oh, it's not. Lavery's holding his hamstring." I was like, "Oh, so that's the last thing."
Unbelievable, isn't it? It's unreal.
Yeah.
There was somebody on AVFTT today when I was looking, saying that they'd spoken to somebody who was a physio with a decent level, and they reckon a lot of hamstring injuries come with do weight training, and he expressed the view that perhaps Blackpool were doing too much of that. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but we have an incredible number of hamstring injuries, and there has to be something behind it.
There's a theory I've heard, I won't say from where, but there's a theory I've heard is that because of the sand base under the pitches, that the pitches are unusually hard, and that's at the training ground, and that's someone's theory on why we're getting them. But
it would have happened in the past, though.
You wouldn't think a sand-based pitch was hard, though, would you?
I suppose it would have happened in the past, but we've had a run, haven't we, of like God knows how many seasons now where we just seem to have everyone crocked. So even when Grayson was here, we seem to have everyone crocked all the time.
Well, maybe they didn't all go through the Colby Bishop testing process.
Rigorous.
Fingernail by fingernail.
We need to check they can't possibly start 41 games a season.
Hopefully it's not serious, though. I think they said it's just a tweak, didn't they? So fingers crossed.
Well, he said he'd felt it on the Thursday, I think it was, and then he'd felt it again in the games. Pulled him off to make sure he didn't, it didn't turn into something more serious. But I don't know. There was stuff like that once it starts. What are we going to do? Not play Lavers for 2 weeks? It's not practical. We haven't got anybody else who can run. We'll have to play CJ up front.
Fancy getting in a position where we haven't got anyone that can run.
We haven't got anyone can run, or anyone can edit.
I know.
No.
Apart from your little big fella,
the little big fella, get him in. I really like the sound of him because he sounds like he doesn't score many, but he just runs around making a nuisance of himself. And
I could do that.
That would be useful.
I'll do that for a fraction of the price.
Well, I'm not sure that some people at the club would be delighted if you were to let it sign him, but who knows?
If running around making a nuisance of yourself is what's required, I'm all right at that.
You're the man for the job, Raggy.
Yeah.
And your CV in there. Get Carl to give you a reference.
There definitely won't be any goals, so...
Get Carl to give him a reference. So, Lavery's gone off. Injured, replaced by Jordan Rhodes. Almost an instant impact. I think he made a nuisance of himself. And CJ slotted Rhodes in. Good chance. I think the keeper's made the save. John Rhodes has made the keeper work. And the rebound has popped out back to CJ. And he's unfortunately blazed the chance over with the goal gaping. But to not completely dig him out, he did set up Rhodes. Nice little through ball.
It was a nice through ball. Silky.
Yeah, it was good. He sent the attempt on his shuttlecock trajectory, though, didn't he? After that, I think
he did a little.
He should have scored that. He's got to score that.
Got hit.
Just watched it back just before we came on. Oh, well, if it's the target, it's an open net. It's a goal, isn't it? But he didn't.
I was watching one of those young lads who podcast, and I'll confess I can't remember his name now. And it wasn't the usual one. The usual one.
This isn't going to be a monologue, is it?
No. But
okay.
But he had that scenario right behind the goal, and it's you've got to say, CJ, hit the target. Come on, guy.
Mitch, obviously CJ's not hit the target there, but the Lincoln strikers certainly hit the target, but he's kind of run the length of the pitch unchallenged.
Wow.
And go on, have a shot, lad. There you go.
And poor old Jordan Rhodes, because he's just must be thinking, it might be all right here, as he's as he's just had his first shot and nearly got a goal and got a little song. And then the next thing, he's just running hopelessly in the wake of this lad. And they're just walking all the way up the pitch, running all the way up the pitch. And Rhodes must have been thinking, somebody's going to come and tackle him at some point. But he tracks him all the way back in the box. No one tackles him. He has a shot. I mean, I didn't see that it hit Marv, so it looked in the ground as if he'd hit it and it just gone straight through Grimmy, but it hadn't. When I watched it back, Marv had sort of what did you evoke before? That kid who's not very good at sport. We were talking about CJ, but Marv was like that kid who doesn't really want to get his clothes dirty when they're playing football because he's going out later, because he just sort of turned on his side and threw himself away from it, and it hits him on the arse and goes in there, and Grimmy's got absolutely no chance. So another classic really from us, and it's good that we've got solidity, isn't it?
It's I'll tell you what it reminded me of watching that Jordan Rhodes chasing him by. It was like I wasn't very good at FIFA, and I used to run. And if I was playing someone who knew how to put a sprint on, I couldn't catch him. Because his player fucking chasing. That was it. It's no chance. I might as well have stopped and saved his energy. He wasn't catching him, was he? He got eight defenders, eight midfielders and defenders just backing off.
He was like, them really old like Spectrum games. You used to do that with a joystick to make him run, and then they'd run out of energy for a bit, and they'd slow down and speed up. Instead of running, then you could see him going.
No chance.
Again. And that just killed it. At the game, that just killed it, because it was just like, it was just such a calamitous goal to concede. You can take it when you concede a goal where the other team plays really well. They knock a load of passes round and then knock it in the corner, or some lad who's 6'8" jumps above everyone, and you think, well, you're going to concede that. But it was just so preventable on every level. Whether it was a professional foul at the beginning of the move, or somebody actually coming blocking him, or Marv not turning his back, there was at least 3 chances for it to be prevented, and it was poor. And then I think really from that point onwards, I don't think there was any feeling really that we were going to turn it around.
No way back. Steve on the comms said just before that moment that Blackpool are playing like a team that's winning 3-0 and not 1-0 down. No urgency.
We play the same way no matter what, don't we, though? Sorry,
yeah. No, I was going to, just going to say exactly the same thing. We play that same possession football in our own half. I think somebody said at one point we had 72% possession against Lincoln. But I've not checked it, to be fair, so I don't know whether that's actually right. But I can imagine it is. But all that possession will be in our defensive third. And then as soon as we go into the middle third or the attacking third, if you can look at the stats in that area, we'll be absolutely garbage. So
I can tell you we had 700 and odd touches, but I think Husband and Casey had 130 each, which that tells its story, doesn't it? Because where are we touching it? On either side of the 2 central defence.
I'm actually leaving Marv out, which is probably a good move.
Well, he came off at half time, didn't he? When Marv had maybe 80, but he'd come off at half time.
Yeah.
So wasn't great. So I don't think anyone saw a way back after 2-0, did they?
No chance.
Did
we
anyone
scored 2 goals all season? We ain't going to score 3 in the second half of a game away from home, are we?
Well, I was stood near a couple of people I know. I was stood with Tony from the patrons group, and Tony's an optimistic chap generally, I think, and I don't think me and Tony really had any way back. And I was stood near a couple of people I know who were generally really, really optimistic, and they were just like, well, this game's up. And it was just, so, I just talked about something else.
To be fair to Critch, we've banded the label. He's very stubborn, bordering arrogant with his team picks, but he did try to change things at half-time. Dale on for Beasley, Carey for Dougal, and Lyons for Pateta. So to give him a bit of credit, he did try to change things over, but I don't think
change
he
the
changed the system, though, did he? Didn't change
it. That's what I was going to say, John. Didn't change the system. He's perpetuating with a system that on the face of what we've seen so far just doesn't work. So rather than switch to a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3 and try and see whether, bear in mind that essentially the game's lost, whether that works better, he's stubbornly sticking to a system that isn't working.
And it is strange, isn't it? Because I can actually see why you might say, well, I want to stay with 3 at the back. And I was thinking back to what's the last decent side I can remember playing, who I really noticed them using the wing backs well. And do you remember season before last, Huddersfield were the surprise candidates, weren't they? And they had Sorba Thomas at one full back, and I can't remember the name. Tuffalo, I think his name was, at the other one. And they were really good. And I remember when we played them, thinking the way they use their wing backs is they were getting them right up the pitch. And I had a look before. I was thinking that, what did they actually play? So I had a look, and between them, Tuffalo and Thomas had 21 assists or something in the league, which was massive. But they were playing 3-4-3, so they were playing 3 at the back, and then the 2 sort of the wide 4 pushed right up, but with 3 up front. And it's like, well, we could have done that, couldn't we? We could have put Dale on. We could have left Beasley on. I mean, he was having a mare, Beasley. We could have left him on anyway. Put Dale on. We could have played around with it in any. You were at Bournemouth, weren't you, Tim? Yeah, and I remember seeing you at half-time in Bournemouth, and we both said, no way back into this game, not a hope. And he messed about with the formation. He changed it round. Ironically, if I remember right, did he not bring Ekpiteta back in for that? For that? Anyway, I'm digressing. And he messed around with the formation. He changed it up. And we came storming back into this game. But it's just that weird like-for-like thing that he seems to do, where it's like, oh, if I swap him for him and I do that. And there's nothing wrong with the formation. It's just that the lads aren't doing it right. And it's like, well...
How can he not see that formation's not working in that system? How can he not see what we can see?
Do you think he's burnt by his experiences elsewhere?
Well, I don't know, because he's only managed 11 games of football, not at Blackpool. And when he was here last time, he used to drive us mad by constantly changing it up all the time, by constantly tinkering, where you'd turn up to a game and go, oh, why is he playing 1 up front? Or why is he doing this? Why is he
not doing that anymore, though, is he?
He's not doing it at all. No. And like, I know he's had a crap time at QPR, but come on, he's managed 11 games of football. He's been to work for about 7 weeks. I've worked at the same bloody place for 20 years. That's getting scarred by something, not 7 weeks.
He's put a lot of cones out, though. Made a lot of brews.
He's gone to work for 7 weeks and got paid about £500,000 for getting fired. It's decent work if you can get it. I'm not buying this. Oh, he's scarred by the whole process thing. I know what you mean, Tim. I know what you're trying to say, but come on.
I'm trying to work out. It's like he's become risk averse.
Yeah,
and it's all about we can't give the ball away at the back, keep passing, and that. But
what's happened.
There's no attacking intent. There's absolutely none. And
I know what's happened.
It's beyond boring, and it's incredibly ineffective.
He's gone. He's thought, right, I've been there before. What could I do better? And he's downloaded some old podcasts and he's watched it through for some analysis. And he's watched us lot going, he just keeps changing it. He can't leave it. If he just stick to one thing, they would learn a pattern. The problem is, how can we recruit when we don't know what the formation is? How can the youth team play when you don't know what formation he's going to play? It's our fault. We've done it.
I know. I said actually, there could be something in that, because there has to be some explanation. And it's probably the most logical I've heard so far.
It's Sean. Isn't it?
Or Phil Ricky. I blame Phil for those few episodes that came on.
Looking all of Phil, yeah.
We're just stuck with him.
Quite.
Well, we are stuck with it.
We are,
without a shadow of a doubt. What we've got to try and do, or hope that he does, is realise that his system's bonkers. And he needs to change it. And he needs... Listen, and I actually do, going right back to your comment at the beginning, Raggy, I disagree. I think we have players who are worth putting into the squad, whether they start or whether they don't start, who can make a difference. And we spoke about it last week with us having 3 basically identical players on the bench. And we've got Apter. Beasley's done nothing this season. Why not see whether... Listen... I'm not sure he's got it, but if we haven't got anybody else at the moment, why not give Brad Holmes a go and just see what he can do and give him a chance? And but most certainly, the exclusion of Apter as somebody who gives us something different is starting to look a bit bizarre. But particularly when you bear in mind where his background. His background is in coaching under 23s. Yeah, he doesn't. He would rather... It's almost like he'd rather cut his own throat than play under 23. Unless it's Carey.
I've got a good start on that. Well, Carey's 22. I've got a good start on this. I looked on one of the rating sites at the top 50 League One players. And of the top 50 League One players, according to that rating site, 8 of them are 21 or under. We've played 5 games with 11 players. We've picked one player for one game who's 21 or under. So, look at that. Other teams are playing players much younger than ours, giving them the chance. They're playing well. I don't know why we won't take a risk on it, because it's energy, it's desperation, it's urgency, it's all of those things. I'm just doing the same monologue I did the other week, but it's like ever more needed.
I think they're trying to go for some sort of record of the longest form development squad without ever developing anyone. We've probably got that title now, but we're going to try and extend our lead, I think.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre because, listen, none of us have to be Pep Guardiola to know that Beasley is not going to cut the mustard at the top end of League One. And that's no disrespect to him, but he isn't. CJ isn't, but he's a plan B, maybe. And why we don't do it? Listen, Dobby did it in the 4 or 5 games. Some people might somebody had nothing to lose and yada yada yada.
And better players. If we were to go 4-4-2, who would play on the wing?
It would either be Apterdale or CJ, wouldn't it? Picks 2 out of them 3.
There you go. There you go. That's why we're not going up
front as well. I'd do it. Give them a go. Can't be any worse, can it?
No, that's the best. That's the best we've got.
You could do 4-3-3 as well. You don't have to.
It still wouldn't be as bad as what we're watching at the moment. I'm sure we'd get the odd result every now and then.
No, we're coming up to January, aren't we? We've got not January to transfer window. We've got a choice. Club's got a choice. We either invest in the system, because for me, the system's not a complete failure in the sense that we're getting possession and we're getting ball, we're getting possession in positions, but we haven't got anybody to make use of the possession that we win, because the main thing we're relying on is either Jimmy Husband or CJ to put a cross in, and Jimmy's a centre back and CJ can't cross, so that's not really ideal. So we're either going to invest in some proper quality, like some real quality, to make it work, because it can work. 5-3-2 can work and it can win you games, but not with this set of players. Or we're going to have to invest in some alternatives, some variety and some variations, and try and go back to winning games with a bit of tactical nous, because that's the problem. We're trapped. We can't win games with tactical choices because we haven't got any choices to make, and we haven't got any variations, and we haven't got better players. We haven't got good enough players in key positions to win games in the way we've set up to do. So we're stuck between both things. And I think for me, what happens, in this transfer window is actually going to be massive. And I'm not normally one for advocate. I'm not normally one banging the drum going, I want signings. But I tell you what, I bloody want some signings this time, because we're not good enough and the squad's not good enough. And the basic thing of having a variety of players that can do different jobs, it's not there.
Back onto the game then.
And then Lincoln scored again.
Yeah, and then Lincoln scored again. But just before that, I've just penned CJ blazes over after good work from Carey. Should have been 3-0 after they've whipped one in. Very static defence. And Carey, decent shots. Carey's made a bit of a difference, but yeah, that one that CJ, the one that CJ blazed over.
Let's just forget that we've slagged off CJ for like 40 minutes. The Carey shot was the only time, really, apart from the Rhodes shot, it was the only time anybody hit a shot with any technique in the game. And I like Carey. I know not everybody's convinced. I like Carey, but it was the only time anybody controlled, hit a shot, hard low towards the corner, good save. It was literally the only time I thought we were going to score, because every time the ball fell to anybody else, I thought it'll fly over, it'll go wide, and it did, because they're just panicking and they've got no technique in front of goal.
Was it the only save the keepers had to make as well?
Pretty much, yeah. He made the one off Rhodes, yeah. He made the one off Rhodes, but it's pretty much the only save he's made. It was literally the only moment where I thought, oh no, there we go, good save, fair enough.
Onto the pen then. Raggy, I thought Norburn maybe should have been shown a red on that. Do you remember he had quite a nasty looking tackle just a minute before in the build up to their penalty?
Well,
he's gone
yeah,
through the back of the
so
line.
I'd actually missed that. I'd missed it,
right.
So I didn't see. I can't really comment on that tackle because I didn't see it. But the penalty, well, it was what it was. But Norburn, I mean, I feel sorry for the lad. Me, I think he is a class player, and I think he'll be wondering what the hell he's done coming here.
Mm.
And he keeps getting involved on every clip there, in every goal. He's sort of there trying to get back because he's trying to take the ball off the defence. He's trying to do all that, and unfortunately,
no one else is showing, are they? No one else is showing apart from him.
Unfortunately, with hindsight, he should have just let the guy score, shouldn't he, and forget it. But it is what it is.
Suspended for next game as well.
Again.
Does the suspension just happen for league games, or will he miss Wolves? Anyone know?
I don't think he'll play Wolves anyway because he didn't play the last League Cup game.
Tim, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I did. Just had to nip for a comfort break. I believe he misses just Wolves, and he probably wouldn't have played anyway. So it's not the be all and end all, is it?
Any closing thoughts, Mitch, before we put this sorry game to bed?
No, I'd be glad to see the back of it, to be honest. It just wasn't. In an odd way, it was marginally better in a few small ways than the 2-0 at home because we actually did pass it quite nicely and we didn't resort to just banging it at a 5'7" player, but in much more significant ways, it was woeful. And they felt like, again, I'm not one, often when you lose, people go, oh, lack of effort, lack of passion, the players aren't trying. And 9 times out of 10, I think, no, we were just crap. They were trying, they were just crap, whatever. But it just didn't feel like it had the intensity that you would associate with a Critchley performance. And by that, I mean, we all think of the sort of 15, 16, 18 months going on for 2 years when we were actually pretty good under Critchley, like really good sometimes. And there was 95% of those games, there was an intensity to the way we played, even when we weren't very exciting, but there was just no intensity. There was no snap. There was no zip. And again, it was like, you'd look at Hubby and he was sort of bringing it out and he looked like the most urgent player on the pitch. And you're thinking, this is the flipping left centre back. Where's the dynamism? Where's the tempo? And forget about Yates as a footballer. Forget about Yates, his goals, his ability to control the ball. God, we missed him because we had nobody that set that tempo. We had nobody that was like a beating heart for us. Even Norburn, I thought, looked sluggish in the game. It was just.
He's like a broken man, isn't he? He's a broken man.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I think he's playing too deep. My view is.
Well, he is, and I wonder if that's because he's compensating for Marv, and if you put
of course he is. Yeah, he's seen where the biblical equivalent is the Red Sea part of the waves, isn't it? Which we saw with goal 2. But I think he feels he needs to stay deep to provide cover. Where the reality is, we don't want that. He's actually probably our most creative midfielder and the one most likely to slot a pass through. So on all sorts of levels, this is like, it's a flawed model, bearing in mind who we've got to play in the system. And it might work with other players, but it's not working with these. And, you don't have to be, a UEFA A+ coach to work that out. You can do you don't even have to be, you do your junior team managers coaching badge to know that what you're seeing on the pitch isn't happening, and you've got to change it. And we need to do it sooner rather than later. And it comes back to me the fact that listen, I don't know Garrett and I don't know Brunskill, but I can't believe that they're doing what Calderwood and McCall were doing, because when Calderwood and McCall were here, we noticed a difference, and we noticed a difference. And I suspect they're telling Critchley. It goes back to what I said in the last pod. It's like that doesn't work. Not doing that. And Critchley listens. Critchley will listen to somebody who's been in the game and who's played at least decent level. And that's when Critchley is his best, when he's listening to somebody who's giving him some valuable input. And I can't believe he's getting that same input at the moment. Now, and I would say our biggest signing is going to be a number 2 for him because he needs it. He's proven it in the past. He was not, listen, I don't want to say woeful, but the team was woeful before Calderwood arrived.
No, it was Tim.
It was.
I don't see it. I don't see it happening though. I don't see it happening because I think Critchley's come back here. He's got a QPR. He's taken Garrett and Brunskill in there. He had us. He's taken Garrett and Brunskill and he's come back. He's got Garrett and Brunskill. I don't see it happening because I think he wants to do it on his terms, in his way, in the way he does it, and whether that works or not. And I understand last time round because he was straight out of youth coaching at Liverpool. Yeah, you go, all right, come on, let's get some experience in. You've never done this before. But he's 3 years down the line. And it frankly, it annoys me if we're having to go and get somebody else on if we're going to get an experienced football head in, they're going to come in for an experienced football head wage. And if I can go and get somebody else to hold his hand, because it irks me that. And I'm not saying you're wrong in that that's what should happen. I'm just saying I'd be surprised if it does happen because it just seems odd.
But those other 2 can't be challenging him in the way that others might have challenged him in the past.
Tim, do you remember after the first 10 games of Critchley's first tenure, it was weird when Calderwood was just parachuted in. Do you think that came from above?
Oh, undoubtedly.
And he was forced to work with him.
I don't think he suggested it by any.
No, well, you wouldn't if you're the manager or the head coach. You don't want someone coming in. Do you?
At the time, we all thought at the time, didn't we? We all thought, oh, it's the replacement being put in place for when this continues to hit the because it was a car crash at first, and we all thought it was going to fall off the end of a cliff. And he went, "Oh, it's a canny move from Sadler that because he's got the replacement ready and waiting for him." Because Calderwood had got sort of a fairly mixed CV, but he's an experienced figure. He'll be the interim manager in waiting. He'll take over. And as it turns out, that wasn't what happened, but. That's how we all interpret it.
But the blend was
good cop, bad cop kind of thing,
and the results improved exponentially almost immediately, didn't they? It was almost like a flick of a switch, and then he had McCall, and now we're back with what to me it's almost like it's taken us back to where we were 3 years ago.
The other thing in his defence, you've got to say, at the time when Calderwood came in, and it was a flick of a switch, and there were changes and there were formation changes, but it was also the first game Dougal played was that game. It was also before Ballard had only just come in at that time and made a big difference defensively. And there was another player that we hadn't got that we got in there, and then we obviously we got Stewart in January, and there were other elements that weren't in place in the early year in that first 8-10 games, other than the assistant manager. But tactically, it certainly made a difference. And there is a big difference between being a very good coach and a tactician. They're not the same thing.
You're chuckling to yourself there, John?
Yeah.
It's like someone had just dropped a stink bomb in a party then. It just, okay, so what needs to happen before the window shuts? How do we fix this? Is it the formation?
Three players that can run fast.
I think we need players out as well. I think watching that on Saturday, I thought, and Tim, close your ears. I thought, what's the point in Kenny Dougal being at the football club? He doesn't look right. He doesn't look happy. He's not looked happy for a long time. He doesn't look half the player he did. And I'm not digging him out. He just doesn't look like the Kenny Dougal that was and is, and I keep hoping he's going to be good. What's the point in Matty Virtue being here? Like, why? He's 25, 26, 27. He needs games. He needs to play. What's the point in Owen Dale being here? He played a full season for Portsmouth last year. He can't be happy sat on the bench, getting sent on only when it's sent on as the sort of rescue mission. Or he didn't even bring him on when it was 0-0 the other day against, a crap team at home. What's the point in Doug Tarn being here? He's 25 this year, played a full season in League One last year. He's not going to get a kick for us. And you can go through the squad, and I did it before, and I looked at, there was at least 6 players I think probably need to go for their own benefit, and probably 2 that we want shut of, Tomo and Tribal. What's the point in them? Regardless of what we think of Tomo, he was our star signing last summer. It was him and Wright. Wright's gone. Tomo's there. He's in a skip. Tribal, who was the star signing of the January, he's in a skip. Never play him. We need players out.
What I don't get about Tribal is he played most of pre-season, and
as did Thompson,
and most would say acquitted himself well.
Really, he was excellent. Yeah.
So why do we go from, and according to Critchley, they've not had a fallout. There's been no, which I don't believe, but there's been no fallout. There's been no exchange of words, and all of a sudden, Tribal's persona non grata in the team, even though he's our best. I would say our best midfielder. I think he's better than Norburn. I think he's better than Dougal. I think he's better than anybody else we've got in that midfield, and he's also got a very delightful looking wife as well. From what I saw on.
Oh, I can't say that. Can't say that.
Oh, you can.
Oh,
you can.
Well, this is big Tim tomorrow. I will not resign.
But putting that aside, no, in all seriousness,
I hope Mrs. Tim's not watching this. Tim,
don't be singing about Tribal's wife for the next game. For fuck's sake.
But how?
No drum into that.
Even if he says I want away, why are we not playing him? Because he's in the shop window if that's what he wants, and we might get some money for him. And we need him. So why has he gone from being like a linchpin pre-season to never being in the squad? And the reality is there must have been a fallout.
Because Critchley didn't sign him according to MB.
Well,
and he'll be on too much money and they'll want him out.
Raggy, let's bring you in from Bob Stinger. Thompson looked genuinely good pre-season.
Bob. Dear me, Bob.
I actually agree, Bob. I agree, Bob.
Well, listen.
He's got to be better than Connolly at left wing back.
That's how bad it is. If you think that's how bad it is.
He did, though, Raggy. Two games I saw.
No. He genuinely looked good against what we've got. That's how bad we've got. That's the problem.
So he should be playing, Raggy.
Well, he arguably should be, which is quite how bad it's got.
It's surreal that we've got, and he was woeful at times last year. He was horrible, and a left back in a 4. And we've got this bloke we brought in from a Premier League club who's played left wing back in a similar system, literally in the Premier League. And then we've just gone through the whole game saying about how bad our left wing back options are. And Tomo's played once at Derby where he played perfectly well at Derby, had a perfectly solid game. If you watch that 58 pass move, Tomo has about 8 touches in it, and he's fitted perfectly well in with the other players and perfectly good. So we've just bunged him in a skip and left him there. Why? I don't get it. So we can play Callum Connolly at left wing back.
It's just that it doesn't make any sense on any level playing Callum Connolly as a left wing back. On what planet is that a good decision?
Well, there's no idea. Where's the strategy of the club? What's happened? Signing young players, sell them on, move them on, reinvest in the team. We're certainly selling the odd player here and there, but we ain't reinvesting it properly as far as I can see. Jordan Rhodes doesn't exactly fit that model either, does he? I don't know what that's about. I don't know.
I think it was a desperation signing.
It's to cover Joseph, innit? It's a desperation sign to cover Joseph. Downs will know him from Sheffield Wednesday, and there'd been panic. Oh no, Joseph's injured longer than we thought. They're going to go insane because we bought Joseph thinking, he'll be our big signing. Quick. What can we do? Downs would have gone, oh, I know Jordan Rhodes, and they'd have bunged that in as fast as they could. That's the only thing I can think of it.
Probably makes sense, but I don't know.
He's not played a lot.
So
it was since 2016. He's not played much, but equally, he's been at some good teams and at some good clubs, and he's been used sparingly as a sub. So
to be fair to him, I thought he did all right when he came on.
He did all right. Yeah,
I thought he did all right. And on that note, let's move on to player ratings because we've just missed it. So this should be funny. Tim, you can start with Grimmy since you've clearly got a problem with him on those penalties.
Listen,
let's have you.
I love Grimmy, as you all know, but I think he needs to go back to goalkeeping school when it comes to telegraphing. I mean, I can't remember the first one, but I think they both went down the middle, and there's a lot to be said.
They did.
Just to hold in your ground until you actually see what the centre forward or whoever it is taking the penalties does. But I've got to say, this ridiculous.
Right, you've had your said, Tim. Come on.
I've said it.
Give us a score. You've said this before. Don't repeat yourself. Come on.
6.
Right, fun. Thank you. Ollie Casey, Raggy, on my revision that I always do before the game, I noticed he completely fluffed his header for, I think it was the second penalty, just way off the mark on that header. And
he had a part in the first goal in terms of messing up with Norburn and putting him in trouble. So he could have a 5.
Right, Mitch, you've got Big Marv.
Yeah, he was poor, wasn't it? It was poor on. There's no way disguising it. He didn't really have that redeeming quality about him as well, where you went, yeah, he did make a mistake or did make some mistakes, but he also made 4 storming blocks and he did this and he did that, but he just didn't, did he? About the only good thing I can think that happened was nearly getting on the end of that cross. So therefore, Marvin Ekpiteta, how cruel should I be? He came up at half time.
Subbed at half time as well.
That's like 2, innit, really, or 3.
Hard to argue. Okay, Tim, Jimmy Husband, I would argue the only player to come out with any credit from this entire.
I think he's probably been the best player of the season so far in many respects, because you know
not
what you get.
Question.
You know what you're getting with Jimmy, and he's very, very experienced, particularly at this level, and I think he's pretty much the first name of the team sheet at the moment, I think. Listen, I wasn't at the game, so I didn't see it. I haven't seen it but I'd go in a 7.
Oh, come on.
7+. We lost 3-0. We lost 3-0 away from home, John. We're not going to be dishing out the plaudits and the gold stars for this one, are we?
Luckily for you, Tim, CJ has done a shimmy on you, and it's been the through ball has been
first shimmy's done all season.
The through ball has been played to Raggy. Mr. Shuttlecock, your thoughts on CJ, Raggy?
Listen, I like him, me. I've always liked him. I've always think he's got if you're fast, you're always going to cause someone a problem, especially League One. But we just don't play him right. And I do think he's just getting loads of stick now because we're pinning our hopes on the one guy that can actually run. But that's all he can do. So, I mean, I don't.
Playing out of position as well. Your famous saying.
Yeah, playing out.
Play your best players in the right positions. That's what you've always said.
Yeah, play your best players in the best positions. Yeah. But I'm not sure he's got a best position though. Just run. So that's what he does. Though. Arguably, Dom Thompson's in the same bracket. The guy can run.
Get them both in.
But get both in and just get running. Well, so
run Forrest.
He'll scare somebody, won't it? For at least 5 minutes of the game, the fullbacks will think, bloody hell, these are all right.
Should get Raggy in as a guest manager.
So,
to half-time tea time.
If we can get 1 or 2-0 up in the first 5 minutes, we might have.
Have you tried that, John?
Oh yeah.
None of that ends well.
Just as a very quick aside, fun fact: I was looking through the download stats for the audio podcast the other day. Do you want to know which episode / piece of audio has blown out of the water in number of downloads?
It's got to be the football hipsters
we've ever done. No,
it's the knobhead one, and
No.
the knobenders. No,
a podcast titled Raggy's Report. It's 10x. It's 10x. Our
10x.
most popular ever downloaded show. I'm not joking. It's in
What
the
was
thousands.
What was that?
Your audio report of your meeting.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. It doesn't end well, though. It causes me nothing but grief, but, I am what I am. Anyway,
CJ score.
He can have a 6 for me. He can have a 6.
There's some grinding of teeth going on in the comments now at that, I think, Reggie.
And the presenters as well.
Yeah.
CJ was both our best and worst player, and you have to give him some credit because nobody else caused any danger. Raggy is right in that. We said it at the game. It's like he is bloody awful, but he's actually the only player that's causing any danger. And if you look at all of our moves, he's the only one that actually runs at anybody or does anything. And granted, after time he falls over, he kicks it out of play. But it's better than the others who just pick it up, cut inside, pass it sideways, pick it up, cut inside because they're terrified of losing possession or having a shot. And
He created our best two chances of the game as well.
Yeah,
I love your analysis. He's our best and worst player at the same time.
Yeah, he's our last great hope.
The great paradox.
Listen, there's a comment from Mark GT.
Raggy, I was just about to put that on. Go on,
stick it up. Stick it on. That'd kill someone. Stick that comment on there.
That one. Thompson behind CJ on the left. Just imagine.
There'd be some winger and fullback not knowing what the hell was going on. For about 90 seconds, they'd think, "Oh, we're in for a tough afternoon here."
You know those Marvel characters, the Flash, where you don't see the person like that constantly.
It is
up and down.
We've
sorted it. We've sorted it. That's what we want to see. The Flash.
We'd score while the other team were creasing themselves laughing.
Even I would vote for that. Bring Thompson back for that.
A fusion of Thompson and CJ becomes the Flash.
Who knows? Who knows what we're going to end up with? There's every chance.
Right, that was Raggy on CJ. Mitch, you can have Kenny Dougal. I actually, those games when you forget players on the pitch.
Literally, this is what I was going to say. I'd forgotten he played. And I watched the extended highlights, and I still didn't really notice that he played. And I can see Tim, his eyebrows are going a little bit, but he's been poor. He's been poor this season.
Four, I'm thinking.
4, yeah, spot on.
Well, somebody made a comment earlier that they'd heard he'd been arrested for passing the ball forward, which I thought was great. I don't know who that was. David Rhodes or something like that. Whatever that is.
Oh, God. Right, on to Ollie Norburn, Tim. The lad's had a shocker, hasn't he?
I mean, it's in the scenario where you tug someone back when they're already clean through, you're going. That's not helped the team in any shape or form, has it? Obviously, I wasn't at the game, but I think his performances seem to have dipped in recent weeks. I think he was a bit of a shining light the first few games, but I think he's been sucked into the mediocrity at the moment that is the Blackpool midfield. I would like to see play further forward. I think, and how we accommodate that. I'd like to think we accommodate it by realising that we've got a certain German midfielder who could do a lot more than he's currently doing, twiddling thumbs on the sidelines and not even on the bench. So hopefully Tribal comes in if he doesn't disappear before the end of the transfer window, and Norburn pushes further forward. Having waffled a lot, I would say 6. Actually, no, 5, because he got sent off, so it's a 5.
Do you know, my mind was wandering to something completely different then when Tim went on that monologue.
Mine was, I've just read your comment and then read that comment as well.
My comment to Maggie in the private chat was, look at Dave Jenkins' comment, just rewinding back about.
What does Dave Jenkins say? So,
this is someone talking about Thompson and CJ on the left. They'd run into each other.
You can imagine, actually, couldn't you, like the Chuckle brothers, like colliding with each other and letting the forward go straight through on goal.
With a bit of Benny Hill music, dubbed over it. That's one for you, Sean, when these highlights packages gets put together.
Wonder what our XG is at the moment.
It was abysmal, Tim, for the last game.
No.
It was 0.8, I think.
You do surprise me, John.
0.8, that's 2.1.
What's happened to the momentum graph, John?
The momentum graph actually was very positive for Blackpool throughout the game. I've obviously been out the lakes all day, so I didn't get time to put the graphics together, but I'll do one for the next pod. Right, that was Ollie Norburn with Tim Raggy. You've got another player that you forgot was playing, Albie Morgan.
Sorry, I'm still bleeding. I'm laughing. I've got giddy getting that image in my head.
That's the new shuttlecock. It's up there with that, isn't it?
It is. It pinged that one back into my head against Huddersfield last season. Give me a second, hang on.
Brian Paul on the left.
He's got the giggles.
Oh, who am I on here? Who am I on?
Was back the last game. I don't know if you noticed.
You're on Morgan.
Morgan, I don't even know. I didn't notice him much.
It's another one of those players that you just didn't realise was playing for a large swathes of the game. Let's give him a 5 and let's move on.
5.
Connolly Mitch shouldn't be playing in that position on any day, so he's on to nothing really.
Well, he falls again into that category of players that you didn't really notice were playing, because I don't remember him doing anything horrendously wrong, but I don't remember him doing anything horrendously right.
I remember.
Did he do anything wrong? I can't.
Yeah, he blazed that great chance over early.
Yeah, but he's a flipping. Conley's not there to score goals, is he?
He's an inverted winger. Of course he is.
Yeah, but he's
superpowers. You get extra superpowers if you become inverted, don't you know?
5 minus. Then move on.
5 minus.
Tim, Jake Beasley.
Yeah, he's not fit for purpose, is he? Really? 4.
That's been very generous, personally.
Well, I if he's got any confidence left, I don't want to completely.
Okay, fair enough.
As a long-time connoisseur of big lads, I found Beasley's performance very frustrating. Yeah. I always stick up for a big lump that everybody gets at because they're necessary. I always used to stick up for John Murphy. I once had a stand-up row with somebody about John Murphy, and you know, I like that kind of player, and I'm finding him actually profoundly frustrating.
Shane Lavery we won't rate because he's got off pretty early. I think we'll give the subs a rating because they've played half a game. Tim Owen Dale, very little impact.
Yeah, it's difficult for me. I've only watched the highlights, so it's difficult to comment. I'll 5 and on that basis. I won't dwell on it.
Okay. Raggy, Sonny Carey looked to make things happen when he came on. As Mitch said, he had the only professional-looking shot at goal all game that didn't get blazed over.
He should be better, Sonny Carey. We were expecting him to be far better at this level. And I know he's not exactly played every game or had a chance to get going, but he needs to be better. He's got the ability to either end up in the Premier League one day or end up in the North West Counties League. And that's the club to make that happen as well. Not just him, but he needs to do something this season. He's got loads of ability. but it's no good if he's not going to do it for us. So I partly blame him, but partly blame the club. We should be developing him at a faster rate than we are. So just because he's not as good as he should be, he can have a 4.
Finally, Mitch, Andy Lyons.
Am I not going to do Rhodes?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've not got a banner for him. Go on, you do Jordan Rhodes. Yeah, I'll just make a
Rhodes,
banner.
6+, did quite well, fitted in well, looked actually quite intelligent in the way he moved. Provided comic value chasing up the pitch after that lad. I thought he did all right. And as I say, I'm sceptical about what he's there for, but he did all right and had the other professional shot and generally tried to knit it together. So yeah, 6+.
Fair enough. What was the one? Andy Lyons, Raggy. Bit out of sorts. He's been out of sorts ever since Critchley took over.
And he must be fuming because he's one of the first names on the team sheet, isn't he? Or should be. I don't know.
Not under Mad Mick or Mad Critch.
No, but he's one of our best players. So again, leaving our best players on the bench. It's not his fault, but and then what can he do when he does come on? So I don't know, 5, 6 because I like him.
Yeah.
He can have one of Sonny Carey's points.
Right, so before we go, there was a fan meeting in the week. Raggy, I believe you attended. So in your unique style, give us a brief overview of what happened.
Oh, you don't want it in my unique style. But well, they put the minutes out, haven't they? So everyone's read them for what they are. So I'll tell you how I just viewed it in a roundabout way.
Okay.
They don't agree with most things that are getting said by the FA, but they've got to do a tick box exercise and get certain things done. And how that's communicated, I don't fans take it one way. I don't think the club are against the fans at all. I think they just need certain things to be done for certain people to go away, for the councils and the FAs to just tick boxes and say, yeah, it's all right now. You've improved your stand. And that's it, really.
It seems to be the council seem to have a lot to say in this, though, from what I...
Yeah, they said that they're coming to the Wigan gate. So they said they're coming. The council are the ones that have to sign off safety. So the council get put on by the FA, and it's the council that have to go. And
what issue are we talking about specifically here, Raggy?
Well, standing up was mentioned.
Standing in the aisles, wasn't it, particularly?
Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you how I said a lot of questions on this when it came up because it does my head in. Right. So, safe standing is the worst terminology ever, and this is exactly how I put it to him that night. Because I said, "Who's challenging back to the FA?" By the way. On a bigger level, who's challenging back? Because standing up at football, no one's ever going to get done. All this running around saying you're going to close stands down and all this for standing, it's nonsense. Because just answer me this, and I did it like this. I walk from the club, from the Alfield Club to the football ground, and I queue up in a longer queue now than I ever did before because no one can get in. But go in the ground, stand up. I have a pint before the game. I'm standing up. Am I safe? Am I safe standing up having a drink? I go and stand at my seat. The players come out. I clap. Am I safe now? Then the referee blows his whistle. Am I not safe now? Do I have to sit down now? Then if the guy after 5 minutes comes along the road and says, excuse me, I need to go to the toilet, am I allowed to stand up? Am I safe? And then when he's gone past, I have to sit down. And we score and I stand up. Am I safe? Corner, am I safe? Half time, am I safe? At what minutes and seconds here is people safe or unsafe? And because they'll never get down to that, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. So I said, what's the crux of the problem? And the crux of the problem was the aisles and congregating at the front. So a few of us said, well, I think we can help with that. We can assist with that on the Wigan game. I know people don't respond that kindly to stewarding and policing and all that, but we can go and make sure people are standing off the aisles, particularly between Block A and B. And if the council have to come along to that one game and tick the box and say, yeah, it's all good, then that's great. We're on the same side as the club, aren't we? No one's trying to cause any issues, but I can't be doing with nonsense and things that don't make any sense. Because if they turn up to look at people standing up, you might as well turn round to them and say, don't bother coming because everyone's going to be stood up. It's a waste of time. But the aisle bit, yeah. And the front bit, yeah. And so I don't. But all of this and all of that thing with the song and all this business, it's all explained. I don't think the club's got any issue with anything other than having to try and answer ridiculous things from the FA and be seen to be communicating that out to fans who then take it a different way, like we do. But I think there's no issue. There's no issue. We just need to help the club out of the Wigan game, get rid of it. And they're specifically coming to the Wigan game because it was Wigan last year, even though McLean's gone. That's how stupid they are. And that was it, really. But yeah, so they're standing up. Well, safe standing. Have you ever fallen over when you stood up?
Well, the irony is if you actually have a designated terrace or a safe standing area, then it's perfectly fine to stand up. It's the fact that it's seats and it's perceived to be a risk and an issue. But like you say, Raggy, the reality is that fans have been standing at football since it was invented, and we had seats imposed on us. And it's about time that common sense took a grip, to be honest, for me. And I wanted the club to get some safe standing. And I don't like that terminology, but the reality is that means you can stand and there's barriers in the way, so there's no surging. That's where the safe bit comes from. But fans. I want to stand at football. I'm a 55-year-old bloke, but I want to stand. I want to stand at a football match.
Yeah, but I think my point to him, right, is particularly, as I've said, like I talk to a lot of young lads these days more than I've ever done because of the on-field club and other things, and you get their point of view all the time, and obviously they want to stand and do whatever, and it's just they get this repeated thing of, we're going to close grounds down and close stadiums down and close stands down and that, and as I said to them the other day, no one believes that. So you're banging your head against the wall. You don't put having stewards walking up and down telling everyone this. Everyone just thinks, sod off, I don't believe you. It's never happened in English football, shutting the stand down or ground down. So there has to be other ways, and that's what we got to if we can lessen it down on the aisles and at the front and just get people to move, then that's it. And we'll help with that. Of course, we've got a lot of people in the North Stand, and we'll help out, and we'll make sure that for that Wigan game, there isn't any issues. So we just want them to go away, don't we? But I just can't stand the safe standing bit. Where would the FA come back if someone challenged him and said, "Can you just write me a minute by minute when people have to sit down? When are they safe standing up? Why are they safe standing up at half time for 15 minutes? Why are they all right standing up for a goal? Why? What points are they not safe? Just ridiculous. And the risk assessments. The risk assessments they've done. How long's that North Stand been up, or that ground now? There's never been an incident where people are toppling over seats everywhere. So the risk assessments have got to be low. And I'm not saying there isn't risks, because of course there is, especially if people are standing on stairs. That can soon go, but it's low risk. And I'm just sick of them throwing this terminology in our faces. And
do you not think they latch onto something, the easiest thing they can latch onto? Because the problem. Listen, if we're going to be adult about this, the issues that is very difficult to justify is any form of flair or equivalent going onto the pitch, and things being thrown onto the pitch, which actually is an issue, is a problem, and it's always used by the opposition.
It was an issue for us, but it isn't. It hasn't happened this season, and that was
I know. But what I'm saying is, do you not think that's why I can see that hasn't happened this season? So I now think, are they just like latching on to, because we're on their radar? Saying, well, they're standing in the aisles, and the reality is the reason lads are standing in the aisles is because they all want to be together. Yeah. Which, when we all grew up and when we all went to watch Blackpool, you could go and stand with your mates because you're on a terrace. And these days, you're told that's your designated seat and you've got to sit in that. And it's a very far more sanitized experience. When all these lads just want to be together, that's what it's all about. That's what's causing this.
And that's the ultimate irony, isn't it? That the great safety of it's seating, it's got to be safe. Now, actually, if you stood at the top, if there's 200 people on a block on an aisle in the north, and someone falls over and they all fall down on top of each other. Actually, that is a bit of a safety issue because there's no crush barriers. So ironically, it would be far better having a terrace there with some crush barriers where everyone could stand up and move where they wanted, because actually having the seats and things as they are, it isn't fit for how people want to use that ground. And as you said in the beginning, Tim, we've had these things imposed on us. The imposition in the way we've the changes in the way we watch football have not been made in consultation with fans, have not been made sort of in fans' interests. They've been made in corporate interests so that we can make these sanitized arenas, get people in, get people sat down, get people in numbered seats, get people, we know who's in every seat, and make people into customers rather than the rather more free-form, slightly more anarchic experience that football used to be.
Correct.
As McHarrison said there, seats were only brought for control. I think.
Yeah.
No word of
Yeah, but I mean, Exeter away only a few weeks ago. They've got a massive terrace, haven't they, behind there?
Yeah.
And I bet you there's never an issue. But there's never a safety issue. I bet there's barriers that you can't fit more than 3 or 4 people between.
Yeah.
And which are never going to cause any issue.
It's a lot safer having that than people standing at seats.
Of course it is, and that's the bit in it. I know we're not going to solve that, but my point back was who in football's challenging this back? Because stop having them pestering you with ridiculous things and start giving them something back.
And it's even between fans as well, because you get all this kind of, this person who sits near me, he says this, or they do that, or they do this, or that person does that, because everyone's penned into a seat number. When you're on a terrace, if there's something you don't like, you can just go and stand on the other side of the terrace. It's that easy.
Yeah. Anyway, food for thought for the future, isn't it?
Yeah.
We might rip all the seats out. We might rip all the seats out by the end of this season if it goes bent. Anyway, so we might have a terrace.
Oh,
like Millwall v Luton
in the club there.
Right, this show has gone on a lot longer than I expected.
100%, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You must have seen us three and gone and budgeted for...
Oh, yeah.
You've not got Nick and Matt giving their very well thought out, compact opinions that sum it up in a sentence. You got us three rambling on.
Who said in the comments earlier that you can add 11 minutes out of extra time for Tim's monologues?
I think Mitch and Raggy would be a very close second.
Per person.
33 minutes, I think. This.
I think I need to build this into my contingency.
We've got 3 Hamlets here who like to go off on one.
Oh, dear. Right, before we go, we've got Wolves away in the EFL Cup, round 2, Tuesday night. I have been mulling over going to this. I'm off on holiday all week. I was thinking,
I'm going.
Take me some to Alton Towers and then go to Wolves away after.
Ooh,
Shall I go, Mitch?
Come on. Yeah.
It's not far away, is it?
No, you might get to see Tomo.
Talk me into it.
CJ might be rested.
The Flash. It might be the Flash.
It might be the one all the time.
CJ.
You might get to see.
You might see CJ, the Flash, and the little big fella. That'll be unbelievable.
The little big
fella in there as well. 3 of them.
There you go. Sorted, John. You've got to go just on the off chance now.
I could see history in the making in the flesh. Joking aside, then, how many we're going to lose by?
I actually think we'll do all right. I think he actually will. He'll mix it up a bit, and we'll probably actually end up with a better team as a result.
Do you think he'll play without any fear? He probably will play without fear and without playing with the handbrake on, and we might do okay.
Well, we can only live in hope, can't we? I'm actually going to go, and probably the reason I'm going, I'm thinking, is it in the cup? If anything, we've probably so far, albeit only one game, we've looked a bit more like a football team.
It could be a catalyst that changes our season. Perhaps.
Could be. Maybe they have that road to Damascus moment and realise that certain players shouldn't be playing, and others should.
You'll have to explain what that means, Tim, because I don't understand what that means.
The road to Damascus moment.
Yeah.
You don't know your Bible,
Explain.
do you not, John?
No.
Biblical references. It's when Saul goes to Damascus and he has he's visited by Saul, who becomes Saint Paul. I'm not religious, I hasten to add, but road to Damascus moment is when you suddenly see the light.
Oh, okay.
A Damascene conversion.
Every day's a school day, John. I've told you this before.
Yeah.
Right, I'll play the outro.
Just before we go, I would like to say, one of the great things I've enjoyed about this podcast is all the people you meet and we've all had it, haven't we? Where people come up to you and say, "I love the podcast," and you end up talking to people you've never met before. And I met a guy yesterday, Stuart, from the South Lakes. He's up there near your end, Mitch, nearly. And there's a great lad at the gig. And I said I'd give him a shout out, and to his son Wes, who had his birthday on Friday. And let's keep it coming, guys, because it's great when people give us feedback face to face. Love it. Love it. That's it.
Love it.
Here.
Keegan-esque.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, feedback is positive and also negative. Isn't it, right?
Well, we can have some
parties.
negative stuff as well.
All publicity is good publicity, John. Don't worry about it. Even if we get called a disgrace now and again, it's fine.
You've got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you? As Oscar Wilde said, it's better to be talked about than not be talked about.
Exactly.
There you go, Tim. That's one for you. Right. Thanks for watching,
love
everyone.
that.
Thanks for downloading, and we'll see you on the next show. So. Yeah, we'll come back after Wolves, and we've got Wigan away after that. I'm speaking to the Wigan pod after.
We're going to home, isn't it?
Yeah, Wigan at home.
Saturday.
We'll be speaking to the Wigan guy anyway, and I'll put that out next week. So thanks everyone. Up the pool.
Go to the pool.
Up the pool.
Grimmy.